watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really want to talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, and he likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I am your one true host, Andy, and with me this week, it's, let me check my notes. It's hard to keep up. Oh, it's Matt again. Matt, the first two-timer besides myself this season.
Yeah, well,
the Andy and Matt podcast.
That's right. Yeah, John is just at his forever Excel conference. He'll never be back again. He's just.
Well, it's because they're spending all their time trying to figure out why it keeps thinking this number is a date.
Right, exactly. And then, whether or not they can fix that in any way. And of course, the answer is no, they can't.
No, not at all. One thing I like is that John does the first episode and then he sets out like he's going to do a recurring bit the rest of the season.
Yeah,
never to be heard of again.
He'll bring it back when you least expect it.
I'm starting to think this might be like a Weekend at Bernie's situation we're doing with John here. But enough about somebody who is not on the podcast, and let's talk about something more pertinent. The episode this week, episode 5. How was it? What did you think of it?
This is a good one. I like this one. I think last time I was on, I was kind of, trying not to say that I was meh or fine on the season, because obviously those indicate that I dislike a season. But now I am willing to say that I'm all in. I am enjoying this season. I'm having a good time, and I had a good time this episode.
I'm enjoying it. I'm not all in, however. I do now. There's nothing that truly excites me, but I do agree. I think for the second time in a row, this was a solid episode, a good episode. And I think for the same reason that we got in like episode storytelling and motivations driven by like what's happening within the season, at least from a storytelling perspective. I'm less fussed on the reality of these things because we've never gotten the reality of these things. But stories
reality
told,
TV, it's not supposed to give us reality.
Absolutely not. But yeah, stories told with the people that we've gotten to know via their actions and what's going on, and a vote that makes sense in the story that they've been telling. And yeah, so all enjoyable. It is always fun when people are just complete dumbasses on the show, and we can have some fun at that. I don't even care if in this, like, it were people I was previously rooting for. You get stupid, then I'm like, hey, you gotta go, and I'll cheer it on when it happens. And it wasn't quite that, but it was parallel to that. So yeah, I enjoyed it as well. They certainly tried to make us think it was going to go another way. Did you buy the Cassidy fake out at all?
Oh, not for a second. No, I was more thinking whether it was going to be Gio or Ryan. That was the only question in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, they gamely tried, and I wonder how much James and Karla were really considering doing it again. But I'm like, nah, nice try. I don't believe it, especially because it seems like that was, and I was admittedly talking to my television at this point, where it seems like this is just one of those misunderstandings that would be so easy to clear up as long as people talk to each other, like how like a lot of like TV plots are, because it's like you have explained to her exactly which advantage Gio got, right?
Yes.
That it is one that you don't need to be afraid of. Obviously, Karla doesn't want to admit, I have the idol, he's not going to take it from me. But it's more like once that's what it is, you have to know that this isn't the time he would play it, because he would have to know where it is. He would have to be that threatened. And it's like, no. So you're just like, I was like, why didn't you tell her? And the answer almost certainly is they did. And that was not in the episode. So this was the attempt to make us think there was some doubt.
It probably was that before, we saw that scene of her freaking out before they had told her, probably because that either happened before they knew what Gio's advantage was, or because it happened right after they came back from learning what it was, and she had that moment before they were able to tell her. And then when she came back, they're like, we don't have to worry. This is the advantage.
Yeah, not an advantage at all. And also, that's why it's important to get rid of him now.
Yes.
Because this is a tribe who realize that if somebody who's holding a potential weapon down the road that does not feature into your future plans and they can't use it now, it's time to let go of them. But we'll talk about the other tribe later. Yeah, so I didn't buy it, but here's maybe a more interesting question. Should it have been Cassidy? Did they make the right decision in voting out Gio?
Yes, they did. Look, I am the person who comes on here and I say, when someone that you're allied with has an advantage, you don't want to vote them out for having the advantage. You want to keep them around. But they're not allied with Gio. They very clearly see they're allied with Cassidy, and Gio and Ryan are the people they were targeting, and they were targeting them last week too. So yeah, they absolutely should vote Gio out because someone has an advantage who thinks they're allied with you, but they're not. Get them out now.
Yeah, I mean, last week I argued that they should have gotten rid of Gio instead of Lindsay. So I'm not going to turn around and say, well, now you should have did exactly what you did last week. Like, in fact, this week proves like you're good. Okay, you took a shot and it didn't work. My concern is like if you don't go to tribal council, which apparently they shouldn't have. We'll talk about that. Then they wouldn't have had a chance to get rid of them. Now, there is a case. And the case is if in that moment James and Karla decide, you know what, Ryan and Gio think they're in our alliance.
Yeah,
let's just make it so. And thus, because the fallout is then there's none, right? The fallout is Cassidy, she's gone. Whereas now they do have the Ryan fallout, but I don't care. There's often going to be the other tribes deal with some fallout here or there. It often doesn't take very long. Bessie certainly looks fine now after some original disagreements. I think having Gio around was more dangerous than Ryan being mad that Gio isn't around. We see this episode. He goes out there to get an advantage, and he gets one, which is very personally threatening to Karla herself.
Yes,
because at some point those bead things are going to become noticeable, and then I think it's actually really imperative for Karla especially to get rid of Gio now.
I also think, one reason to maybe have voted out Cassidy is if you think there is a merge coming, in which case you don't want to keep around. You want a situation where you want as many people as possible on your side at that point. So you want, to be going into that with numbers. And by making this decision, Ryan is obviously on the outs, and you're more of a 3-person alliance than a 4, which you could have been if you voted out Cassidy. But I don't think it would have been a real 4-person alliance. And by voting out, it would have been 2-2. And those two might have allied with someone to then vote you, Karla, and you, James, out instead. So by keeping Cassidy, who is on your side and who you have now seen like, oh, we can kind of control where she goes, I think that Karla and James are actually in pretty good spots right now.
Yeah, I mean, last week I argued that Gio is a dangerous player to keep around in a way that Lindsay wasn't. Lindsay was troublesome. Her attitude was still troublesome, but I felt like I bet you'd overcome her of that with the one vote. And I think that's still true, and probably even more so true, as you're saying, with Gio and Ryan. Yeah. So if you're worried about Ryan flipping to another tribe, you should also be worried about Ryan and Gio. Only Gio would have an advantage that could take your Karla advantage away. Because, this skips to the end, but there's going to be some kind of bringing together of the tribes next week. We can't necessarily say merge because we must complicate things.
I sincerely doubt it will be a merge. Let's put it that way.
When we get to that point, over half of the people remaining in the game know what's up with the beads. Obviously, Karla doesn't know that, but she, should reasonably assume at least 2 other people do.
Mm-hmm.
So again, really, really important to get rid of Gio, which kind of gets into the second question, which I guess I've already answered it. Because at one point they're thinking about getting rid of Ryan instead, and I think the logic was sound, and that if Gio gets something, he's not going to play it for Ryan, but they needed to switch off Ryan to Gio, right? Like,
Well, here's the thing. Even if Gio didn't have the advantage, I think that he would have been the right decision instead of Ryan. But because he did have the advantage, it was just the easiest decision in the world. Get rid of Gio, who has the advantage that is threatening to you.
Yeah.
But the reason why I think should still have been Gio, even if he didn't, is because even if Ryan isn't fully on board with you, Ryan's the type of guy who gets targeted at the merge.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be looking at Ryan and they're going to be voting him out instead of the rest of you first. And if Ryan decides to be a free agent, you just go to everyone else and you're like, hey, let's vote out Ryan. And they're all like, oh, yeah, he's going to win a bunch of immunities. I agree with you. Let's vote out Ryan. So, like, Ryan's the perfect guy to take in to a merge instead of Gio, because Gio could like hide, maybe get in with some other people and then kind of, undermine you if he's like really mad about how this vote went. Ryan, I don't think Ryan's going to be able to do that. I think, if Ryan tries to go to anywhere else, everyone's just going to target him.
So you're saying this even after the brilliant acting job that we saw from Ryan this episode with his amazing plans. Like I'm surprised that they weren't all, we have to get rid of Ryan. What an amazing strategic threat he is.
Yeah. So I will say, I don't know if we were talking about this or someone else, but I had in some ways I'd seen someone lament the lack of Mactors on recent Survivor. And then Ryan comes along and I'm like, hell yeah, Ryan, man. Oh, you're filling that hole that I, in my heart, for those Mactors.
Oh my God, it was sad. And what's made it more sad is that he was just so pleased with himself in a way that, like, unlike like Drew Christie, it was kind of endearing. Like, oh,
it was endearing.
Shucks, look at this guy. you go, you. But it was like, it was so bad. And I mean, we'll get to the challenge store decision, but even like past that, every time he has to remind James or Karla, like, no, don't get her. You got to go away from me. We have to. And they're both like, oh yeah, we're doing this shit. Like, yeah, because they're not committed to this plan, because they've already told Cassidy what's up.
There's like a little smile on their faces every time they get reminded, like, oh boy, yeah, he's thinking this. Like, it's just, it's beautiful. It's just, it's really, like, that's the type of like character work that I love on Survivor.
Yeah.
When someone is just so convinced of their own reality, and that is not the reality. Cody lives in that situation all the time, which is why I love Cody
in that situation. In fact,
that's right, he's live in. Yeah. Which is why I love Cody. I mean, like, and this was just like, I agree, like, this was endearing from Ryan, even as it was just incredibly dumb, because it was like, I don't know, it was just so great just how convinced he was of his own reality. That was just not the reality at all.
And like, his story is so flimsy. Like, you just see it, like, even with his interaction with Cassidy. So he's kicking his game to Cassidy, thinking like, oh, I got her tricked. And she does the right thing, like, oh, is there anything I can do? I don't want you to go. And he's all like, no. You're supposed to want me to, like, all of a sudden, like, he has to keep backspin. No, I would rather they keep you safe. And it's like, yeah, see, when you're with somebody, you don't just admit defeat like that. Yeah, that's a tough sell. I mean, the very idea that it's like, oh, I could tell they want me gone because I didn't roll balls correctly. That's really not how it works, especially when you've been like the essential part of winning challenges up until now. But this weird, skee ball without the holes game. Well, Ryan's got to go. No, that would never be the reason.
It was. Yeah, I also like how even Jeff was like, this makes no sense.
Almost to the point where, I mean, for one, it's not his job to blow up people's games, but almost like, this is so dumb that I guess it's real.
Yeah. No, it was a very funny bit, and as I said, like, that's the type of stuff that I'm glad, like, that's the kind of character work that I like and that I want more of, because it serves the game.
Yeah, and I also feel like if you're, James and Karla, and you're experiencing this, it's like, we don't have to worry about him tricking us come merge time. I think we will see it coming.
That's right.
But let's talk about the challenge throw, though. Before we
okay, yeah. I mean, it was a really dumb decision.
So bad. I mean, obviously, so many the questions here don't really have a counterpoint. You would have to be just a really argumentative prick to be like, no, I think that was a good idea. When a challenge throw that almost sends you home.
So Andy, are you going to tell us now why it was a good idea?
No. What I want to know is, what is so bad about Cassidy that it's like, I gotta take the matters into my own hands? Like, I understand wanting her gone, right? I understand, like, that's just like, she's not part of my plans. Somebody's got to go, she's the next priority, whatever. Like, I don't have any of your reasons. If it comes to that, I don't understand.
Yes.
What? Nothing we've seen, nothing that they said explain like, this is a cancer that I need to put myself at jeopardy because they simply can't make the merge. It's like, I just don't think so.
She's not a gabbler. I don't get it either. This is my theory. Just looking at on the Wikipedia page for this season. This is my theory. So you see, Brian is from El Paso, Texas, and Cassidy is from Austin, Texas, and everywhere else in Texas hates Austin because that's the liberal enclave of Texas. So that's my theory on it.
Oh, there you go. That must be it.
No, I don't know. Like, it's, I get, like, if someone rubs you the wrong way, wanting to vote them out if it comes to it, but I don't understand, like, this singular focus, because you're gonna get your opportunity eventually. Like, why throw the challenge for it? And I also love how he do you think he told even Gio? Do you think he told anyone?
I think actually I've gotten confirmation that he did not.
Yeah,
Gio never had time, that much time, and I think in Gio and his exits said he did not know.
Well, my point was, like, he didn't, like, discuss this ahead of time, right? He basically said he decided in the moment. I
think literally in that moment, because if you're really trying, don't land those first two balls, That's
right. Yeah. No, I think, it's the type of thing where he just got his best ally sent out just because he, like, oh, I got a brilliant idea. And it's like, dude, no.
To the degree that, like, it's possible it's fucking bullshit, right? That, like, he just threw the ball wrong, and on, like, from the time that happens to the time that he's doing his interviews, he's like, I'm gonna sell it that this was what I wanted. Like, I'm not ruling that out, that, like, he just failed. And then because he's a kind of a guy who, I don't fail anything. They told me I would never walk again. Now look at me. No, I meant to do that, and I'm so excited to do that because I have to get rid of Cassidy. Like, I feel like you could work with her,
Yeah.
You just did on a previous vote.
Yeah, I don't get it. I just don't. It is just, it's some real galaxy brain stuff.
Yeah. And, like, this is coming from a person, I believe you're the same. I'm not one to say you should never throw a challenge.
No, you absolutely should. Yeah.
Perfectly legitimate reasons to do it from time to time. Usually it involves being handed people who you are not currently aligned with. I can even argue that there'll be times when, you have, like, somebody who would just, sink your whole tribe post-merge. Maybe you need to get rid of them. You should make double, triple, extra sure that everybody's on the same page, because again, it's best to avoid going to tribal council. But like Ethan won the game in part because he threw a challenge to get rid of a really horrible person I don't want to name in Africa. China, they clowned on it, but it was the absolute right thing to throw.
It was 100% the right decision. Yeah.
So there's whatever, the game's the game. But you don't have to force the issue to get rid of somebody within your alliance, even if it's somebody you don't like that much.
Yeah. And my understanding now is that the show has taken to not showing when challenges are thrown and it works out for the people that threw them. But when it doesn't work out for the people that threw them, they will excessively clown on them because the show wants to discourage throwing challenges.
Yeah, as they should.
As they should.
Yeah.
But I think that is the way they should do it. I think trying to legislate any bit beyond that is always going to backfire. And there are, consequences beyond just voting someone out. If you throw a challenge, like, you don't get Flint these days.
Yes.
So it's like the show, I think, has put in enough disincentives to throw a challenge that you really should only do it in the most, necessary circumstances. And yet Ryan was like, Cassidy, necessary.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It
Gotta
is
get rid of
more
her.
important to me that Cassidy leave this game today as opposed to maybe 2 days from now than it is to sleep under a dry roof with a fire.
That's right.
I think it's bullshit. The more I'm talking about it, that guy just made a bad throw and then was lying to us. That's canon now. All right.
No, but okay, Andy, this is why it's not bullshit. We saw his acting.
I don't know that he was that believable with us either. Just Ryan smiling and being excited about his own brilliance. And
if he was acting about throwing the challenge, that's the best acting he did all episode. Let's put it that way.
Jeff, that's the kind of nice person I am. That's how I play this game. Oh man, it just makes me like, I can see clearly with James, like, no, don't do it. And James would be like, oh yeah, that's what we're doing, because James and Karla have been great.
Yes. Before we had, last time I was on, we had not seen a lot of them. We had gotten a bit more of Karla, and I was liking Karla a lot. And now that we've gotten, more of her, I continue to like her a lot. And now that we're getting more of James, I'm like, James is great too. And they're a good combination together, and it's so funny because when we first saw Karla, she was all about that women's alliance on her tribe, and she outlined the reasons why, and she was entirely right. And then they, it was like, okay, I guess, James might be our fourth. And it was kind of like he was the add-on to that. And now it's like, no, the alliance is Karla and James. Like, everyone else in that is like, was ancillary. Like, they're the two. And I hope they go really far because I love them together.
Yeah, and I think honestly that's the way you should do it. I could see like opening vote first couple of days. It makes sense to have a women's alliance, just to buffer against the default assumption that one of you three will go. Yeah. But in general, I don't think women's alliances, I don't think men's alliances, I don't think race-based alliances, I don't think any of those alliances are a good idea. Alliances that are a good idea are people that you vibe with, that you think will play the game in the ways that best suit your own.
Yeah.
And it's, don't try to force it amongst people that just share a particular trait, because frankly the show, it would be unlikely for them to cast like 3 women all the same. So, and again, like I've discussed in the past, like it's probably just backfire. Eventually you're gonna have to vote some of these people out, and if you're doing it for a cause, now you're a traitor.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Whereas, it's like, okay, no, this guy plays the way I want to play and can help me in ways. That's what you base alliances are on. Alliances are there to help you win the game. That's what they exist. I mean, I've been big on Karla from the beginning, which I'm not. No brag. I think that is universally true.
I think so too.
James, it was just like I hadn't seen enough, and like early on, Ryan and Geo seemed like the fun pair. And I'm like, well, it has to be somebody. I don't want every tribe to vote out a woman first. So much for that. So it's like, I guess it had to be James, but now, no, I'm all in on James as well. Probably not to the degree that you are. I don't have that.
Well, he's my Philly boy, and these days I'm super Philly, so
well, it's working out so far. What I really like is like he figured out very early on in this tribe. There's like, I don't want to pair with Ryan and Geo. Like he signed on that at first. It was kind of like, hey, why not be part of 4 instead of 3? But now, having seen the brilliant work of Ryan and Geo over these past 2 episodes, I was like, man, you nailed it, James. You're like, nope. Yep. That's my John, right? Is that how you say it?
Yeah. No, you did it right. Yeah. So one thing I also really liked about James is this episode when Cassidy has her freak out. He just looks at Karla and he's like, why is this so hard? And like you can tell that they're just like laughing about it, because it's just like, this should be the easy part. Just say yes.
And I think that's why they paired together. Is because everybody else is just this higher energy, which is not surprising. That is probably the most Survivor contestants are that. They are chill. So he's
Yes.
just like, can we just keep this simple? Should we get rid of her?
Yeah.
'Cause she's not going to keep it simple.
I-
Yeah, again, I'm glad. Hopefully, that wasn't a long discussion. You should have discussions about voting on everybody. So I'm not a fan
yeah.
of the discussion took place. But it's like, no, no, no. Eventually, you got to stick. Now, the one though, I'll say is like, if you're complaining about numbers and then giving up one, but not really, because then he just decides his numbers are Ryan and Gio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the thing about them that I think's refreshing is, and I think that kind of keeps tripping them up, is in a game that's fueled by paranoia, they seem to very much have that under control. Whereas everyone else on their tribe and everyone else that they've been trying to work with has let it run amok. And I think, it will be interesting to see how they handle when they get with other people, because I frankly think that most people on Modern Survivor are fueled by paranoia. And so I don't know if being chill is something that will set you apart and make you a target, or if it's something that will give you an edge because you're not, putting the rest of the people that you're working with, you know, on edge and making them worry about you.
Yeah. And how about Karla? Clearly, everybody views her. Well, I shouldn't say clearly. For what we've been getting, it seems like everybody views her as like a
Yeah.
alliance. To the point of Gio sharing that information with her, even prior to Ryan, from at least what we see.
I mean, that's what we
Seems
saw.
like he's opening it for the first time in her presence.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think that speaks to why Gio and Ryan felt so comfortable, because they clearly thought they had Karla on their side. And
I've
they've
been reading in exit interviews today. Gio's like, no, I knew I was on the bottom of that. I don't believe a fucking word of it. So
not
we will continue with the story that because it fits a lot more with the actions that we're seeing, that he did not seem like an insecure person. The very act of sharing that with Karla does not seem like the actions of an insecure person. I have no reason to doubt the story that's being told, especially because I enjoyed the story that was told.
I do too.
But yeah, I mean, I think, if something were to happen with James, I think her and Cassidy, I think, Karla should have no trouble repairing that bond with Ryan. It would be nice if like somehow, I mean, it'd probably actually be boring, but maybe I would like it. If there was like this kind of conglomerate of chill people that somehow form, like with those two, Owen, Jesse, Dwight, like that wouldn't be so bad.
No.
Only if that means like the other people were flipping out all the time and thus driving some story. If it was just that, it'd probably be dull. I'd probably
you need to mix in a Cody there just a little bit.
Does Cody mix? I don't know.
No.
Oil and water?
Cody's oil.
Yeah.
He always stays on the top of that water. You always know where Cody is.
All right, so as we said, it was incumbent for Karla to get rid of the knowledge is power advantage.
Yep.
Because as any Survivor fan will tell you, the ones that, were rending garments and yelling and trying to get people fired, the moment that, let's face it, probably like Redmond told them what it was before they'd even seen it on this season.
Yeah.
The knowledge of power advantage is this just game wrecking, unbeatable object. You remember like the furor that was when it was discussed?
I do, yes.
Because you don't like hide from spoilers like that. You hide from like result-based spoilers.
Oh yeah.
We're never that. But if there's something like coming up in the game, you're fine to know about it. I am too. Like nothing like again, so people know we are not spoiled. We're never spoiled. We do sometimes know when these mechanics are happening and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Before that. People were like, oh, this is the most powerful thing ever. And as is my want, I was like, well, let's just wait and see. Now we've seen it 3 times.
Yeah.
Don't think it's this game wrecking, world ending, unbeatable advantage at all. In that it has never been successfully deployed, not once, not close.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's not much of a take beyond there, except that if my description matches you at all, dear listener, of somebody who just flipped out about this, what I don't want is a defense. Well, if people ever kept it quiet or anything, it's like, for one, I mean, the very nature of it itself is there's going to be a lack of anonymity at some point. At some point,
Yeah.
even if anyone ever successfully deployed it, they have to do it in a public forum. But
That's
for
right.
two, no, not what if, well, I thought this, I thought, yeah, I understand what you thought. I understand why you'd think it certainly, if could be deployed, could be really dangerous. And I'll even allow that some people might not have understood that it had to be done in that public forum, you know, like you had to ask somebody in secret or something. Because I know, like, I think John, for instance, and he won't remember this, but I can. I think how is it's like, but you're supposed to be able to lie. It's like, well, this is a different kind of lie and a different, you have to do it at tribal council. So my point is, if you're somebody who just like freaked out and panicked and ranted and raved about something before it ever happened, maybe let that be a lesson. The show will give you plenty of time to complain about things when they suck. When the hourglass finally happened and we saw it, we did not be like, oh, well, let's wait and see. No, we were like, yeah, I thought it would suck, and it did.
Yeah.
But not everything is this world-ending thing. Not everything is the worst thing. Not every decision they make is bad. Just wait. Yeah. Then complain. I'm fine. Complain after the fact, but the pre-complaining, the desire to be firsties on, you know, your disagreement with every decision by the show, you have egg on your face now, because yeah, this thing is useless. I still think it should exist though. It's been proven useless, but I think it still has possibility.
So I actually think that it is the perfect advantage for modern Survivor, because modern Survivor seems to be played where you tell everyone everything, and this is an advantage that's only good if you don't tell people about it. It's like the kryptonite of modern Survivor. People cannot help but tell people what this is, and because of that, it has rendered it useless in a way that, like, I think is hilarious. This could be a really powerful advantage, which is why everyone flipped out about it, as you said. But it's only a really powerful advantage if you actually like play it right. And playing it right does not just mean using it correctly in the moment. It means like playing the entire reveal of it correctly. And no one's been able to do that because it's just anathema to the way people are playing today. It is really funny.
Yeah, it's in the title, and I think people are missing that. You know, it's not the knowledge of the object they have, it's your knowledge gives you power. Correct. But it also gives other people power if you share it. I agree, and I think it just shows that it is properly calibrated. It is an advantage that yes, it could do a big thing, or it could do nothing. Yeah, and I think the best advantages are like that. Idols are extremely powerful and are also beaten all the time.
All the time. Whereas, and not just by vote splits, by people just not using them when they should, you know?
Using them when they shouldn't, you know? Right. But that's why the idol nullifier is not properly calibrated.
Yes.
It's too powerful. Yes. And it also like eliminate. I mean, again, there's the idea that you have to guess at the right time, but it generally is just used as a security, an insurance policy on something that's going to happen anyway, right?
Exactly.
Whereas, this is like, you know, you have to keep your mouth shut, then you have to know what's going on, and then you have to do something and then do it in a way that can't immediately bounce back on you. Because generally, if you're stealing an idol, you better be playing it that night, because now people should be like, well, now we have to vote for them.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think is actually really smart about the calibration is that it's given out at the at like the, what are we calling it this season? Like where they like Shipwreck Island is what we called it, one of those seasons. But wherever everyone from one tribe goes, we send them all there. It's really smart they give it out there, because if you hold it too long, everyone knows who's going to have it, because the other two people are going to volunteer that they don't have anything to get the target off their back. Mm-hmm. And so then everyone's going to know who has something, even if they don't know that it's knowledge is power. They're going to know it's something. So there's this necessity of having to use it quick while it's still unknown.
Yeah,
that I think actually does really calibrate it well.
Yeah, so like I want it to stick around, because frankly I would enjoy seeing it successfully deployed at some point. Yep. But yeah, it's fine, you know. Nobody's done it right. You know, I have this later, but since we're talking about it now, what do we think of like the risk, your vote place where you might get advantages? Is it still like, I mean, I think like from a TV standpoint, it's not as successful this year as it was in the past years. We're not getting like the social bonding moments pretty much
Yeah.
at all. But it's also just like it's either everybody does it even when they shouldn't. Like, I don't know. It's like I'm trying to figure out like the decision making, and maybe it's just because this week's decision making was odd.
Yeah, I did not understand this week's decision making. I mean, it seems that the people who keep getting rewarded at this island are the people making the worst decisions there. And like of all the people to risk their vote, Gio really should not have been one, because what did he think his vote was going to be? 3-2? Like, maybe he thought James was also with Karla with him, but then it's, like, I don't know. It's just that one blew my mind that he was willing to risk his vote there. You got to be real sure about those numbers to do that when you're going to tribal council that night.
Yeah. Or, this could like lead to his exit interviews. You're so sure that your vote will not matter because you're on the outs.
Yes, that you're like, you're the what? Yeah, you're the one on the outs. But if that's the case,
shot in the dark. So
I was going to say, if that's the case, you play your shot in the dark. So, but then, similarly, like, I don't get the other two vote risks either. Like, I don't know what was going through their minds. Like, it just, it was mind boggling. Like, and was it Jesse that was there?
Yeah.
Jesse was like, yeah, why'd I do that? That was dumb.
Like,
he knew.
Or,
he knew.
It's kind of a 2-2 type deal. You worked hard to make sure Cody could vote. Yeah, no. I mean, and Janine, it's like you just got out of vote jail.
I know. So Jesse was one that I was more astonished at him than at Gio, because Gio was like, he was like, yeah, I feel like I need to do this. And I'm like, you really don't. It's kind of dumb that you are, but okay. But yeah.
Yeah. So here's a thought that maybe like both Janine and Jesse weren't going to do it. They're like, no, my vote's more important, this. And then Gio put on his whole act the whole time about how much he needed it. I'm going to have to risk it. And they're like, I'm not letting this fucking guy do this to him.
Yeah, honestly, I'd believe it, because I would do that just out of spite.
Honestly, I don't care if I get the advantage. I'm just not letting you get it for sure.
Yeah.
Like, you laid it on a little too thick.
Yeah.
Given the way he was doing other things, including talking about how he was in charge of a vote in which he was the only person not to vote the same way as everyone else. Which, again, I guess it was probably to protect against.
Oh, speaking of Gio, how about like when he was like, "Oh, well, did you vote for me?" And it was Cassidy. I was like,
"No, you idiot! The person who left."
It was like, "Do you think she voted for herself?" And he was like, "Oh, no." I don't know
if Cassidy is like, diplomatic enough for this game. She seems to be a bit too much with the, self shooter, but in a negative way. In which I would appreciate. It would probably, be somebody I could textually communicate with. Like, it seems like a way we would communicate.
Yes.
But for the game, it might not be that. But I appreciated that in the moment. They called it out. Do you think Lindsay voted for herself? Dumbass. Why is there even a question here? When that vote was revealed, you should have known whose it was.
Oh my God. Yeah, that just.
Like, the vote for me, I know there's one of two options here. I wasn't like, oh.
Yeah, that wasn't Lindsay, so. And I like how I like how Ryan was going to explain for Gio, and she's like, "Oh, so it was Gio. Why don't I just ask him?" That's really when you knew that Ryan and Gio were in trouble this episode. Just that first moment, it's like, oh boy, these two are not smart.
They are not the formidable opponents. I mean, Gio, in the end, seemed like a really sweet dude. I'm glad he was able to kind of like do a lot of like provider stuff. I thought that was good for his adventure. they did a really good job painting him as a moron the past 2 episodes, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed
me too.
how it led to his ouster, and whether that's real or not, I don't care. I care about a story for myself, the viewer, and they did a good job on that one.
Yes.
Let's move on to another tribe, because this is
Okay.
a thought that like occurred to me while watching it, and it kind of horrified me. But then I realized I think it is. Is Sami the best player on Baka?
I said this weeks ago because I think it's true. It's because when I said
think
weeks
it's
ago,
undeniable at this point.
what I said weeks ago was I was like, I think Sammy's actually a little better than we're giving him credit for. But what I wasn't accounting for at that time was how much worse everyone else is on that tribe than we were giving them credit for. Because we knew Gabler was a train wreck. That's been undeniable since the first instance. If anything, recent weeks has made me think that maybe he's actually slightly better than some of the other people on his tribe. But dear God, Ellie and Janine are terrible.
So bad.
They're
They're
really
still clinging to this fantasy more so than ever. Like they seem like, no, we're good. Lockstep. Gabler's the next to go. And it's like, Gabler can't be the next to go. He can't be. I'm sorry, anybody wearing headphones, but you kind of know what you've signed up for at this point.
Yeah.
No, like it was just. Is there a way for them both to be voted out this episode? Like it's.
Now, one thing I will say in their favor is that at least they haven't thrown a challenge to vote Gabler out on this misbelief. So,
So then it's like, well, and then like even when I wrote it, I'm like, I know people are going to want to default to Owen because for one, it feels like a lot of people on the internet know him or know that from the circles. He's a super fan. I was like, but I'm going to need you to show me the evidence that he's good at anything. This very episode, we see that like the only reason why he finds out about the idol is he stumbles upon them, whereas Ellie shares that information with Sami. So just there, clearly Ellie and Janine with this rock solid confidence that they can vote out somebody with an idol that expires the very next time he goes to tribal council. So it's not even a situation where we can trick him not to play it. This is it. This is it. He can't hold on to it any longer. They don't even let you keep them as souvenirs anymore. I think the idols you give back so they can if we ever do another super successful Ghost Island. So it's like he's immune. Yeah. But they're so lock solid, and that's because of Sami, not because of Owen. Owen is, I'm guessing, is their backup plan if they realize that Gabler realizes that he is.
I think that's exactly it. I think Owen's their backup plan. And they think Sammy's their number 3. And it's so funny because Owen's the one who's actually considering going with them instead of Sami. It's so, just talk about people who have completely misread the situation there and have a lot of confidence in themselves. It is the Gio and Ryan stuff.
I was about to say, I don't know that anything separates Ellie and Janine from Gio and Ryan.
The only difference is the fact they haven't done the challenge. That's it. That's the only difference. So and Sammy's sitting there leaning against a tree talking about how dumb they are. I'm like, yeah, you get it, kid. And he's like the best challenge. Like he's the biggest reason why they haven't gone to tribal council since then. Obviously, this week they win, theoretically because Ryan threw it, but he was right there. We don't know that actually Ryan was going to make the throw. No.
I believe that when Ryan throws the challenge, scariest to scare quotes, Sami had 2 balls on there, I believe. At least by a cut.
I mean,
I don't know if we had a wide shot.
It was
again, he won. He figured out that puzzle in the very first on day 1.
Yep.
Yeah, he's still a 19-year-old who.
He's not going to win this game.
No,
don't get me wrong.
That's the other thing. When I posed it, I think somebody took umbrage. I'm not saying he's a good player.
Exactly.
I just think he's better than anyone else on that tribe, and I think he's been doing fine, and I think the rest of them are just doing so bad. And the only thing that they've done right was, hey, speaking of Survivor fans getting all upset about something before they see how it plays out. this one I'll allow a bit more. We react at the end of episodes to voting decisions. Remember when they were all up in arms about Baka voting out Morriah for challenge-based reasons? And this is a terrible decision. Ellie and Janine just signed their death warrant. Anytime women vote against women, they're all eliminated, even though that's literally like, I don't think ever happened. But two, it's like, and some people were like, why is she the worst? She did fine. Now, I will say, I thought they should have voted out Gabler. I still do.
I still kind of think they might
still
voted
do.
out Gabler. Yeah,
but I guess they were right. They lost that challenge. They looked like they were just terrible, which I mean is also a lesson on what everybody's like, they're the disaster tribe. Every tribe that just lost feels like the disaster tribe. Yeah.
It's actually amazing that they're the only tribe that's only gone once, because it feels like they've like constantly been on the edge there. But no, it's just the first episode.
Every episode we're getting the story about the divisions, and then it never comes to pass. And frankly, I love that about them. That's fantastic, Survivor. I'm glad you did not wait to develop this story. Frankly, I don't care if it even gets resolved. Maybe the other two tribes, now that they're down, they just team up on Baka. Although it'd be great if they do, and Baka helps them,
Oh, that's definitely what's going to happen. Like, they are going to be like, oh, we're going to, target them. And then everyone on Baka is going to be like, ooh, let me help you. And they're going to be like, wait, what?
What's going to happen is that they're going to target Ellie because they're going to assume that she is the brains of the operation, because they won't the 22-year-old kid. And then she's going to have to go to Gabler and ask him to play his idol on her.
Oh my God, that's going to be beautiful. She's going to have to
but first she'll have to be like, how do I convince Gabler that his idol is still good? And I want to see her do that. And I want Gabler to be like, yeah, I know. I've been know that my idol has been good. Do you think me illiterate?
I want to see this so bad. I want to see her sit down and parse the sentence with him, as if he can't read it. And she's like, oh, actually, I think this means your idol's still good. And him just being like, yeah, wow, really, Ellie? That's incredible. So, huh? Yeah, is that so?
So lucky
you want me to play
you.
it on you? Yeah, okay.
I'll really have to think about it. Can I get my bead back? I honestly, Ellie and Janine like powwow over how they're gonna do this. And frankly, maybe Owen could be there, just being amused by it. He can gym to the camera or something. Oh yeah, no, all that would be brilliant.
Yeah,
but never went to tribal council after that. So I guess it worked out. It wasn't a disaster for Cassidy to Karla to vote out Lindsay. Sometimes you just need to vote out somebody that's going to prevent you from winning challenges.
Yeah. No, I mean, and honestly, it's just, the key in a three tribe season early on is just don't go to tribal council.
Yeah, it's probably good to go once,
Right. But you know what can happen if you get too confident in where you think the numbers are? You get sent home when you throw the challenge like Gio did.
So I'm excited for that. We don't know what next week's going to be.
No,
I suspect, if I had to guess, it's what they've said the last two were, that it's a challenge where they're split into two, one team wins and makes the merge, but they won't take it away from them. And I imagine Jeff would flat out say there is no hourglass or none of this, the winner of this is the winner. So I suspect, if I had to,
it would actually be funny if Jeff didn't and then both tribes are trying to throw it.
It'd be funny in a reap what you sown type thing.
Sorry, that's what I mean. Yeah.
But I'd rather not. Again, this gets back to why it's incumbent on the show to present challenge throws as ridiculous strategy. The show should not set up situations in which the competitors in challenges decide that winning challenges is not worth their trouble.
That's right.
The show is still going to show the challenge. We viewers are still going to watch the challenge. We would like to think the outcome is something that is being, competed for on some level.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's individual ones where people, drop out for food or whatever, but usually you could at least depend on a couple of people to want to do it, to create the drama of some level of competition. That's why it's so dumb that for 2 seasons in a row, they're like, they think that's what they're competing for. but no. And then if they went, going forward, and everybody's like, well, I'm not going to win it, and I guess I'm going to win it. I'll let this tribe win, and then they can get some food, but we'll be immune. And I guess you're right. It would be kind of funny, because then we could get a bunch of interviews of them like being like, oh, we got it made. When that person comes back, they're going to smash the hourglass.
I mean, and there is 13 people. So I do think it's going to be divided into two, one person left out, and that person's going to go to like a terrible island, and they'll get some sort of reward, but it won't be an hourglass.
Yeah. Especially because earlier in the season, they flipped over an hourglass to, show the passage of time.
Also, right. Yeah. Because now they know how hourglasses work. So, and very important that they have really,
that is the most important lesson they learned.
Yes, they did.
I mean, I just still don't. We don't know that they're still using dice that don't get rolled. But what was the other one? Where they can undo the results.
It wasn't the
3-card Monty.
The Monty Hall problem, not 3-card Monty Hall problem, but 3-card Monty is very different.
I know. But it's like, are you given a coin and then you pick from a box, right? You do not actually flip a coin the way that coins can often represent probability and choosing. You
think
pick.
That's right.
Yes.
I think
hopefully that's still a thing. I think it's not. I think I remember reading that it's not, but I want it to be a thing, and for the Monty Hall problem to always be proven wrong, because that's the way I am. There's not a lot to talk about on Fessy, but I did just something that I noticed while watching, that a comment, I guess, not even a question. Mm-hmm. I was really struck by the way they competed in the challenge with Noelle, because
I noticed that too.
Yeah, because obviously, it's really awkward, hopping through there, and obviously, and I imagine maybe more so with the leg that she had for the other purposes. Yes, but I know it struck me because it didn't really slow them down. I liked how casually and easily as a tribe they worked to support her, and I just thought it was like, and I also liked, bravo to the show for this, that they didn't highlight it or underline it. It wasn't sweeping music of Suri finally crossing the balance beam. Jeff didn't mention it after the challenge. They just they show it to us, and it's just like this good example that if the people with disabilities, sometimes there are things that will be extra challenging for them, but that does not mean that they can't overcome it. That does not mean that they don't have value. And again, like if the show later on wants to make a big deal of how great she's been doing and all of this and give her that moment, that'd be fine too. She has been doing really great, but I thought just like the really quick scene of that, and the way like Dwight and Jesse just, she's got her arm to hold on each side, and then she just hops right on through. I don't know. I was kind of struck by it.
No, I was too. And I also think the decision not to highlight it is one that I think Noelle would have wanted anyway, because she's an athlete. Like she wouldn't want to be highlighted for doing something that everyone else is doing. She would want to be highlighted for doing something better than everyone else is doing, because again, she's an athlete. Like that's what they want. So just like the fact that she can do this is not something that she would think remarkable. And, because that's not like the way athletes' minds work. Right. I also think it was very informative of how much Vessi's come together. Challenge showed that they, that like this is now like a tribe that is really like, that is gelled together, that is very much on the teamwork, that everyone's working together. And I think that was like good, just, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. That those images from this challenge told us everything we need to know about where Vessi is as a tribe these days.
Yeah, and I think they've been first place, not just not just avoiding, but I think they've won first in all 3 challenges since.
I think that's right.
So, and who knows? And I'm excited to not know. I'm excited to see what would happen. But I can see a scenario where the 4 of them now work together using like Noelle steal a vote. Maybe Cody's an idol. I would hope that he and Jesse keep that to themselves, but who knows? To do something. Frankly, I would like to see that tribe do well, because Cody is the most entertaining player of the season, and I like Jesse. His like just dedication to the full-on normcore lifestyle, I find so relatable. Like not as much this week, but last week when he was like, I live on a cul-de-sac. It's like, we get it. You're lame and washed and just like me.
Yeah.
scene. I don't live in a
Uh,
cul-de-sac, but you know, I understand the vibe.
I mean, I grew up on a cul-de-sac, so I get it. So yeah.
So who are you rooting for in the season, and why is it Karla?
It's definitely so it's the duo of Karla and James, I think specifically.
Yeah, I
But
like them as
yeah,
a duo, but I want her to win, and like
yeah.
this season will be fantastic if she does. Continue, sorry.
Um, well, I want Philly championships, and that's why I want James to win. So I'm trying to manifest this into the world. But I mean, so it's those two, but I
It's
actually
the
think that
last Philly championship in the major sports that you follow. Wendell's win and Ghost Island, I think so, right?
I think that was after the Eagles. So
Okay.
yes.
Continue, sorry.
But uh no, what I was just gonna say is that I mean, I'm rooting for them. But I actually think the tribe that's the most together come into this quote unquote merge is Vessi. I think everyone else is, I mean, like we already know Baka, like they're not together. and I mean, and I think Ryan is kind of not really with the other people there. So I think like Vessi's the one where like they're like, yeah, we are four, which I think will make them a target, sooner rather than later. I think Karla and James I like their temperament. I like the way they approach the game. They've been smart. Like I really want to see them go far. And I think it would just be awesome. Like, I think it would be awesome if either of them won, but it really would be awesome if Karla won.
Yeah. Yeah, like so overall, this season has been fine. I think the last two episodes have been better than the previous ones before that.
Yes, I'd
But
agree.
that's just progression, right? We're kind of
Yep.
getting to know them a bit
Yep.
more. I do think there's a bit of a spark missing. And maybe it's because like I'm not sure there are many players I respect as players so far. The aforementioned Karla and James. Um Jesse maybe. There's kind of
I
I'm not
think Jesse
sure.
would be the
Yeah. I don't know how much of a benefit of the doubt I'm giving, but he hasn't been forced into decisions since NECA, and I had no problems with it.
I think he made the right decision in both decisions that he did have to make.
I suppose we're coming off an episode where it's like, why'd you risk your vote? Because
Well, yeah, that was not a good one.
So like that, obviously I do tend to root for people whose games interest and excite me more.
Yeah.
And I do think there's maybe just a lack of friction to cause excitement that can so easily come. In fact,
Yeah.
it feels like it's building with Baka. Like there is a concern, like, is there people to root for and root against? But if
I
this
think there are.
that Karla wins, then it could easily be one of my very favorite, because I think she would be a kind of winner, and the way she would go about winning would be like right in my wheelhouse. So
Yeah, I mean, and frankly, I think that she's like one of the people that if you like just base off of, like the amount of screen time they're getting, the type of screen time they're getting, what we call edit, without assigning it to weird bird sounds and music cues. Yeah, no, she'd be in that inner circle of like, oh yeah, no, she's a very possible winner.
yeah, I'm sure. I just feel like at this point they'd be like, no, she's gonna be, the fallen angel or whatever. Like, I feel like
Maybe,
anybody that like
maybe.
is good and liked, they always say, no, it can't be them. It has to be this person. And I mean, to be fair, it's rare that somebody that I'm like rooting for wins, but it happens, and I find that those people aren't necessarily targets of the edit winner selectors. But
Yes.
that's not a conversation we need to get into.
No.
Yeah, so it's just like and more importantly, like I'm okay if this season kind of starts now. Like
Yeah.
we cleared some stuff out. There's been a couple of interesting stories. The Lindsay story was interesting. The Ryan and Gio was very fun.
The continuing Baka story, I think, is
Yeah.
very amusing. Yeah, it's good. So
There's pieces in place that it could be a really great thing, but yeah, it's like right now, I'm not as hyped for things other than the success again, largely of Karla, and I feel my hope is like James helps make that happen. But
yeah.
I could be moved over. One thing is like I like his low key vibe, but it's almost too low key.
He is almost too low. I agree with that. I agree with that. But I the reason why I'm kind of excited for the merge is because I do think there are people to maybe not root against because like they're bad people, but root against in the sense that like you're an idiot. I want to see you fail. It will be
Oh yeah,
funny
and
when it
that's great.
happens.
That's a great thing. Like this.
I think that's even better than rooting against someone because you don't like them. Like, root against them because like when they fail, it'll be amusing.
Yeah. What I'm hoping for is like when they first hit the together in whatever format they're going to call that. I want Cody to be wearing that hat, and I want it to start
Oh
with the
God,
people in
yes.
it. And
Yes.
then Karla and Sami and Owen and Ellie and Janine and Gabler are all like,
Bingo.
and then Cody to be like, hey, they don't even know, man. Mahalo.
Oh man, I want them to keep Cody around for like
Oh,
the
yeah,
same
for sure.
reason why you would keep Ryan around, which is that you're like, I know exactly what this guy's gonna do. He is not a threat to me. And then just let him keep abusing us in the meantime.
I don't think I want Cody in the final tribal council. I don't want like
Like
them.
final seven. That's a good spot.
No, even final episode, I'm fine with. I don't think I need to see the reckoning of everybody and be like, we think you're a dumbass. Like, no, just let him be a dumbass and be fun
That's right.
for us. And frankly, I want him also to bring about his own downfall in a spectacular.
Yeah. It's kind of like how when Ken got to the final episode of Millennials versus Gen X, it's like everyone then's kind of clowning on him, and it's like, oh man, you're kind of ruining the joke, you're ruining the fun of him. It's like that's awful. Like, it's he should have, it would have been better had he got out a little earlier. So
all right, I don't really have anything else more to discuss about this episode.
No, I don't either.
Our Survivor diet. Looking forward to the second half of the season.
Yeah, that's right. Me too.
All right. If you have more to say, you can do so on our website when we remember to post the things that we usually post. And that is at purplerockpodcast.com, or you can find us on Twitter and send us DMs about, hey, shouldn't there be a post now? You can do that on the site is Purple Rock Pod. I am Purple Rock Andy, and you are
Purple Rock Matt.
Subscribe to play.
Oh, and I will just say, sorry, I haven't been live tweeting recently. I've been watching on delay or the next day. So not that any of you care. I am sure.
People are just missing your voice, and
I know, right?
Get these white hot takes that we're getting tonight. Subscribe in the various places. We're on YouTube. This is a video this week. And let's hit some theme music.